Today on Rappler, senatorial candidate Richard Gordon brings the source code review to the Supreme Court. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index breaches the 7,200 level after the Philippines gets a credit upgrade. And for the fourth straight year, the Philippines remains third in a global impunity index. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Senatorial candidate Richard Gordon asks the Supreme Court to order the poll body to show local groups the source code of the ballot counting machines. The source code is the master blueprint that contains instructions for the precinct count optical scan machines, or PCOS. On Friday, Gordon's lawyers file a petition for mandamus before the High Court to allow political parties to examine and review the source code. But Commission on Elections Chair Sixto Brillantes says it's, quote, too late to allow local groups to do a source code review because a legal battle between two international companies blocked the release of the code. Gordon says Section 14 of the automated election law states COMELEC, quote, shall promptly make the source code of that technology available and open to any interested political party or groups which may conduct their own review. He says this means the requirement is mandatory and should be enforced by the poll body. Gordon adds, placed in the wrong hands, the source code could be manipulated and used to systematically subvert and frustrate the people's will. In a phone interview with Rappler, Brillantes says political parties PMP and PDP Laban reviewed the source code for another part of the automated election system, the consolidated canvassing system. Brillantes says Gordon's party, Bagong Bayan, did not apply to review the source code. COMELEC chair adds Gordon can have the PCOS source code reviewed once it is in COMELEC's custody. Brillantes earlier said the local source code review is important only for the credibility of the elections, not for its legality or legitimacy. He cites a source code review done in February by international group SLI Global Solutions, which reports there is no malicious code in the PCOS. The Liberal Party slams incumbent Laguna Governor E.R. Ejercito Estregan for using President Benigno Aquino's photos in his campaign materials. LP Secretary General Mel Sarmiento says this is, quote, a deception of the highest order. Estregan belongs to the opposition United Nationalist Alliance. He is also the nephew of former President and UNA head Joseph Estrada. In a statement Friday, Sarmiento says Estregan's campaign materials, which reportedly have Aquino's photo, makes it seem as if Aquino is endorsing him. LP gubernatorial candidate Egay San Luis says the use of these types of deception is a type of politics that insults the intelligence of the voters and destroys the dignity of public service just to get votes. Aquino tells voters during his provincial visits not all who use yellow in campaigns are on his side. Laguna is the fifth vote-richest province in the country with 1.5 million registered voters for 2013. New province, Dinagat Islands, are among 5 provinces in the country with the lowest income. The politics is dominated by the Acleo clan, regarded as royalty by the locals because of the family's alleged healing powers. Voltaire Tupas reports.
A pregnant 23-year-old Julieta Havillano walks into this clinic in Dinagat Islands. Her left breast is swollen and red. She fears she has cancer.
Tunaw na talaga ang cyst, nana na. So, binuksan through prayer. Wala kaming instrument na gamit.
The Philippine Benevolent Missionaries Association is founded by the late Ruben Ecleo Sr., known as the Divine Master. Ecleo Sr.'s healing powers enticed not just believers but also voters. This and mining operations that scarred the mountains of Dinagat built this palace called the White Castle.
Noon nag-boom ang Romay. I have 3 MPEs kaya doon ko it talaga kuan yung para bang katas ng Dinagat Island.
At least 12 members of the Ecleo clan hold elective positions. Under the Nacionalista Party, Glenda is running again for governor, her son Ben Glenn for vice governor, her twins Alan 1 and Alan 2 for election as mayors, and daughter Gwen for congresswoman. But for the first time in 4 decades, the Ecleo's grip on power is challenged by one of their own. Vice Governor J.D. Cleo is running against her mother Glenda for governor on a platform of hope and reform. She's backed by the Liberal Party and a lineup that includes activist Congresswoman Kakabag-Aw.
Hindi pa ako tapos eh. Mga kapatid ko pabalik-balik na lang sa kanilang naka 9 years na sila as mayor, balik na naman. Ako 1 term lang ako as gov. Hindi pa ako tapos sa mga visions ko.
Jade says her fight with her family is a clash of principles. Looking up from their shanties to the Cleo Castle, some residents called the structure a monument to inequality.
Mayroon kang mataas na palasyo, pero yung mga tao sa baba, parang hulmigas lang yun eh. Parang langgam lang yung mga tao dun sa baba. Very unfair.
There's an emerging clamor for change in Dinagat, with 73% of people living below the poverty level. Still, the ruling Ecleos remain a formidable political force.
324, 321.
The 2013 elections in Dinagat will test a mother's resilience, a daughter's defiance, and the new province's survival caught in between. Voltaire Tupaz, Rappler, Dinagat Islands.
The Philippine Stock Exchange Index hits a new record high Friday after credit rating firm Standard & Poor's upgrades the Philippines rating to investment grade level. For the first time, the PSEI breaches the 7,200 level by 9:33 a.m., a few minutes after the stock market opened. It reaches 7,230.4, a new intraday record, as investors react to the newest vote of confidence in the Philippines. The PSEI closes at 7,215.35, up 1.72%. This is the 28th time the index has broken records this 2013. The Philippine long-distance telephone company PLDT wins a credit rating upgrade from international credit rating firm Standard & Poor's. S&P upgrades PLDT's foreign currency corporate credit rating and unsecured credit rating from BBB- to BBB. This is 1 notch above investment grade. This comes a day after S&P upgraded the Philippines rating to investment grade. In a statement, S&P says the rating reflects the company's strong position in the domestic market, diversified services, integrated network, and solid cash flow measures. It adds, the macroeconomic risk and competition, quote, temper these strengths. PLDT Chairman Manuel V. Pangilinan says the company welcomes the upgrade. He adds, we are pleased to benefit from the improving economic conditions in the country that resulted in another investment grade rating for the Philippines. For the 4th straight year, the Philippines is number 3 in a global index for impunity. On Thursday, the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, releases its 2013 Impunity Index, which lists countries where journalists are killed regularly and whose murders remain unsolved. The Philippines remains high on the Impunity Index because of the Maguindanao massacre in 2009. More than 50 people, including 32 journalists, were killed in the worst election-related violence in the country. The CPJ report says Philippine police, quote, have yet to make headway in the prosecution of dozens of suspects in the politically motivated massacre. CPJ report also notes 3 witnesses in the case were murdered, with 1 dismembered and mutilated. The Philippines has maintained a position in the Impunity Index since the CPJ began its analysis in 2008. The Tubbataha Management Office says the FV Minlong Yu, the Chinese vessel that ran aground in Tubbataha Reef on April 8th, destroyed 3,902 square meters of corals. This is 66% larger than the damage caused by the USS Guardian, which damaged about 2,346 square meters of the reef when it ran aground in January. Tubbataha Park Superintendent Angelique Sonco says some of the massive corals damaged are estimated to be about 500 years old. She says the damage the Chinese vessel caused to the reef is heartbreaking. Authorities charged 12 Chinese men caught in the vessel with poaching and possession of protected species. They will face administrative cases before the Tubbataha Protected Area Management Board. Boston bombing suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev tells investigators he and his brother planned to commit suicide attacks during 4th of July celebrations. The Washington Post and the New York Times, citing 2 unnamed officials, say the brothers aborted plans to attack on the 4th of July after they finished building their pressure cooker bombs quicker than expected. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev is accused of carrying out the bombing with older brother Tamerlan Tsarnaev, who was gunned down in a police shootout. Dzhokhar tells authorities he and his brother watched internet sermons of Anwar al-Awlaki, a radical American cleric who was killed in a drone strike in 2011 after moving to Yemen. But the Times reports there's no evidence the brothers communicated with Awlaki. Rappler's editor-at-large, Marites Vitug, comments about the culture of beauty and women's perceptions about their own appearances. Here's her video blog.
This is a summer of sizzling beauties. We were recently wowed by Binibining Pilipinas winners. This month, one will be chosen Miss Philippines Earth. Women who joined beauty contest look confident, parading on stage in daring swimsuits showing well-toned abs. They are proud of their faces and bodies. But women in general are the opposite. They appear to be insecure about how they look. We learned this from the latest Dove Real Beauty commercial. In the viral video, a forensic sketch artist with his back to his subjects draws women based on their own descriptions. Then he draws a second round of sketches of the same women, this time based on how someone else described them. The result, the women look more attractive in the second sketch. Their features are much brighter. David Brooks of the New York Times says this highlights a phenomenon. Women tend to undervalue their appearance and be self-critical. This Dove campaign is fascinating. It reminds us that how women look should not be a source of anxiety. After all, others see women's faces in a better light. This is Marites Vitug for Vitug Vlogs.
Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 3, UN leader Ban Ki-moon discusses deadlocked efforts to end the Syrian conflict with signs that peace envoy Lakhdar Brahimi is set to quit. The Permanent Security Council members urge Brahimi to stay, but diplomats say he's determined to leave because of growing frustration with stalled international efforts to end the 2-year-old conflict. The Arab League decision to recognize the opposition Syrian National Coalition as Syria's legitimate government was the final straw for the UN troubleshooter. At number 4, the death toll in Bangladesh's worst industrial disaster passes 500 on May 3 after 41 bodies were pulled from the wreckage of an 8-story building that collapsed on April 24. Bangladesh's garment firms reopened to complete delayed orders for their Western clients after an 8-day shutdown. Millions of staff returned to make clothes for retailers like Walmart and H&M, which came under pressure to review their contracts in the country. Around 3,000 people were trapped when the building collapsed near the capital Dhaka on April 24th. And at number 9, women attending the Asian Development Bank's annual meeting in New Delhi are advised to avoid wearing short skirts because this may lead to sexual harassment. In a website notice Thursday, ADB advises delegates from nearly 70 countries to dress modestly in the sexually conservative nation. It later removed the advisory from its site, with a spokeswoman saying the agency wanted delegates to, quote, dress sensibly in a business-like fashion. ADB's Board of Governors meet this weekend in the Indian capital to discuss the global economy. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the Mood Navigator. That's in the middle of the front page, and it crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories with the most number of votes on their mood meters, the 10 stories that affected our Filipino readers the most. Take a look today. It's a very green day. Cesar Purisima, Philippine Finance Secretary, his commencement address, lessons from Henry C. and Vice Ganda. You have 78% inspired, 8% happy. Again, with Cesar Purisima, just yesterday, the Philippine wins the second investment upgrade, 86% happy. And the story that's gotten the most number of votes, still for the second day in a row, hashtag PH vote with Risa Ontiveros, 76% happy. The mood of the day, green. Today, most people are happy. Well, that's Rappler's Newscast for today, Friday, May 3, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.